This is Viterbi Voices.
Coming to you from the University of Southern California, Viterbi School of Engineering.
We're here to give you the inside scoop on research, classes, student life, and so much more.
All of these shared by students, faculty, alumni, and other members of the USC community.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Viterbi Voices. As usual, I am one of your co-hosts. My name is Paul Ledesma, Executive Director of Undergraduate Admission here at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
And I'm Cameron. I'm your other co-host. I'm a senior studying computer science and business administration. I'm from Chicago, and I'm also a current student at Viterbi School of Engineering.
You're also, I'm not a current student. Who's also? What you talking about?
Maybe I should have said, and also I am a Viterbi student. Gotta get the brain together. It's midterm season, guys. The brain cells are holding on.
out of all the stupid technical difficulties I'm having this morning, I think you're allowed one or two of these as we go. And who are we joined by this morning? Mystery guest. Go ahead and reveal yourself and introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, everyone. My name is Celine, and I'm a junior studying biomedical engineering here at Viterbi.
And Celine, this is your first time on the podcast, correct? Second? Yes. Oh my gosh, I can't. This is how bad my memory is. I'm so sorry. I'm just an idiot, an old man today. Well, Celine, welcome back. What is the episode you bring to us today?
So this episode, we're talking everything housing at USC. I know it's a topic that a lot of students are interested in. So we talk about freshman dorm experience, sophomore USC housing, and off-campus housing.
Oh my gosh, the hot button topic. Where do I live? What's the best dorm? Oh my gosh, I don't want to hate where I live. Everybody stresses out. Do you all remember stressing out about this option when you were kind of coming to college and thinking about all the different things?
Yeah, definitely. I was concerned about where I was going to live and if I was going to like it. And people would rank the different dorms and the different amenities and everything. But we kind of just go through all of that in this episode.
Good. I'm glad to get your thoughts on all this stuff. The one thing I want to put out there, everybody worries about this every year, and everybody is always fine. There aren't a lot of differences. I think, spoiler alert to this conversation, but hopefully this is a really good bit of information to talk about the differences and the highlights and how different people can thrive in different places. So let's get out of the way, and we'll pick it up on the back end here to talk a little bit more about housing and also some other updates that are happening on campus.
All right, perfect. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Before we get started talking about housing, can we go around and introduce ourselves real quick?
I'll start. Hi, my name is Jaya Travis. Currently, I am a junior studying biomedical engineering with an electrical emphasis and a business law minor, and I'm from San Diego, California.
Hey, everyone. My name is Mateo. This is the third time you've heard me on this podcast, but I'll introduce myself as well. I'm a sophomore studying biomedical engineering with an electrical emphasis. And yeah.
And what's up, everyone? You probably know my voice a little bit. I'm Cameron. Like Mateo, introduce myself again. I'm a senior studying computer science business, and I'm from Chicago.
All right, and just to introduce myself again, my name is Celine, and I'm a junior studying biomedical engineering. And so today we're just going to be talking about housing at USC, what that looks like for both underclassmen and upperclassmen. We have a wide variety of housing experiences in this group, so we're just going to be going over those today. And just the first question to start off is, where are you guys living now?
I can start with this one. So actually, I'm a residence assistant at the McCarthy Honors College. So I'm currently staying at McCarthy.
I am a sophomore, so I'm still living in USC housing because that's what most sophomores do. And I'm living in McMorrow Residential College, which is located in the Village.
And I'm a senior, and typically most upperclassmen, juniors, and seniors try to live off campus, want to live more independent. So I'm living in an independent housing, roughly a 5-minute walk from campus. I can literally look out my bedroom window and see some of the Viterbi buildings. So pretty close.
Nice. Yeah, I'm also living off campus. I'm living at University Gateway. It's right across the street from campus, north side. And it's right next to the Village too. But yeah. All right. And then I know there are a lot of prospective students looking at USC. And so we just wanted to talk a little bit more about freshman housing opportunities and what those look like. So Cameron, if you want to just give a little rundown about the different housing options we have here.
Sure, yes. I think I'm probably like besides Jay, not the only person who like got to live in the freshman housing as a freshman, so I get to talk about it. So the breakdown is pretty straightforward. There's three different types of housing options you can look at and live in if you're a freshman. There's freshman residential halls, which are the very stereotypical housing you think of, long hallways with dorms. You've got like two or sometimes maybe three roommates, but usually for everyone except for one dorm, there's two roommates in it, and you have communal bathrooms. So, that's one of the situations that all kind of connected together. Then there's freshman suites. And so suites are essentially places where instead of having the communal bathroom, you have a private bathroom. And those you may also have 2 to 3 roommates as well, just depends. And then lastly, which is actually new since I've been here, since I feel like a bit of an old man, are freshman apartments. And so some of these apartments actually overlap with the sophomores. So, you get a chance to mix in and meet some more people. And these are fully apartment style. So you'll have a bedroom, bathroom, a full kitchen. So like if you actually like to cook like myself, you have more than an opportunity to cook. No fires though. Don't start fires. Living room, all sorts of accommodations like that. So that's kind of the breakdown of what freshman housing looks like. You can kind of choose your pick, and see whichever one fits your best. Some people like both. I've like lived in both a resident hall and a freshman suite in my time. So kind of depends what you like.
Yeah, definitely. And I think most of us have lived in the village, so I could talk a little bit about that experience. I honestly really love the village apartments, so you can live there. If a freshman year, like Cameron said, if you're in McCarthy Honors Program, and also sophomore year, which is what I did. And it just was a great experience having a living room and your kitchen and then your bedrooms. And you get to cook. Like Cameron said, there's Trader Joe's on campus. So I would always hop on over there and then bring back food and cook with my roommates, which was fun. But just a really good experience. You also still get like that communal aspect from like the smaller freshman dorms because we're all living, it's a lot of sophomores, so you're all living together in the same space, which is really nice. I don't know if any of you want to speak on your experience in the village.
Okay, yeah. I can kind of talk about my experience in the village and also my experience with other dorms. So my freshman year, I got a chance to live in McCarthy, which I know Jaya will also be able to talk about for a bit. But McCarthy's really cool. I think that like living in the village certainly does have its perks. It's right close to campus, of course. It's like there's like walk like maybe 10 steps across the street and boom, you're at campus. It's really cool. You do have a dining hall like right below you. So it's like pretty quick. You can just kind of walk outside and 5 steps later, boom, you're in the dining hall. I really enjoyed that experience. But I also did live in Burncrant. So I did a summer program before coming to USC and got to live in Burncrant Residential College. And if you look at anything online or hear anything, you'll always hear someone call it the 8 floors of open doors. I feel like that just kind of just speaks to like the community of Burncrant. Like I remember I would come back to Burncrant like after, we would go to the library and we'd just kind of be studying for quote unquote tests, not really, but we would just kind of be out or whatever. And I came back at like 10 p.m. and I was walking down the hall, and I think like a new Drake album had dropped that summer or something. I heard someone bumping it, and I just like pulled up into their room because you could just prop the door open. Didn't really know them that well through summer program, and I just became really close friends with them. We just like sat up for like 3 hours, just like repeating the album, talking about it. We were talking like basketball because I think like it was like just after June, it's like the NBA finals, and it was a great time. And it was super cool since like they had a triple, and so I think what's funny is that most people think of like a triple as this really cramped space, but it's like 3 people living in 2 different rooms. So there's like literally one room, which we call like the living room, which was just desks and some and like whatnot, and then the other room would be beds. And so you can kind of distribute everybody you wanted to, but a lot of people at times they just like stuffed all the beds into one room and then turned the other rooms like their own living room. So some people had like a futon and like couches and like a TV and everything. People would come over there and like throwing like dorm meetups and like gaming tournaments. I mean, you name it. They just turned this freshman dorm, like residence hall, which is like standard residence hall from college movies, into a whole living room. And that was super cool. And like same there, like similar to the village, like the freshman dorm also had a dining hall right below it. In fact, actually every freshman dorm we live in, every dorm pretty much in general that's like on USC has a dining hall like right below it. So there's no like long trek to get to the food or anything. It's just like really chill. So I feel like I definitely loved both of the experience living in McCarthy and living in Burncrant. So those are kind of my top 2 favorites. All of them are good, but Burncrant has a special place on my heart.
So actually, my experience was very unconventional, not at all kind of similar to Cameron. So my first year was actually at home. It was the COVID year of 2020. So a lot of my classes are online. I stayed back in San Diego, did my classes there. And my first actual experience was in the sophomore dormitory. So I was actually within the village, a dormitory called Nimbrowski and Bonnet residential colleges. And so me and Celine were pretty much like next door neighbors. So it was really cool just having like, again, what Cameron was saying was like that sense of community. Even if you're kind of like a little bit more separated in terms of like schedules and things like that. You can kind of come back, see your friends inside the dorms, and kind of either play ping pong, go in a study room, turn on the TV, or just kind of like chill at your apartment, cooking food and things like that. So I think the versatility that not only your cooking experience gets, but also just like the meal plan you get. Because if you live in the apartments, you also get around 50 swipes per semester. You kind of get to alternate those different options. So if you did not want to eat some dining hall food, you can also just cook your own food. But I think that experience really kind of just brought a lot of really close friends that I have right now. Even me being a little bit separated from everyone, since most of the people I know are either kind of like in their own off-campus housing or somewhere else at USC. You still kind of like maintain those connections through res ed.
Yeah, definitely. I will have to say the dining dollar portion of living in USC housing was really great. I loved going to breakfast and getting omelets from the omelet bar in the village dining hall because it was right there.
Yeah.
It was so nice living in the village and just having all of those options right there.
It was
Yeah.
busting.
Definitely bussin'. And Parkside also has the ice cream sundae bar, which is really nice. So if you live in
That was
Park,
new this year.
it was new.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they didn't have
that's
it
not
last
a-
year.
That's
Oh,
not
it's
a
a
thing that was
thing.
from my freshman year. Because look,
It's so
because
good.
like freshmen get unlimited swipes on their dining hall plans. So trust me, there would have been a fourth meal of the day to just grab the ice cream, or like we just pull up there,
Oh,
just swipe my
absolutely.
friends. Like that did not exist when I was here. I'm very jealous.
No, I had a freshman swipe me in and they had the ice cream bar with like brownies and like chocolate syrup. I was like, this is so good. But yeah, that's another perk. Another perk.
I guess like for me, I'm kind of like a little unique on this panel just because I did not get a year robbed from me because of COVID. I've had the opportunity to live in 2 years of USC housing, but I've lived in the village both of those years. So I lived in Kailani Rani my first year, and I'm currently living in McMorrow housing right now. But I've also lived in Century over the summer. Century is another one of those sophomore housings with the loft style beds, and it has a pool and balconies, a really spacious living room, a pretty big kitchen as well, and its own bathroom. Each room has 4 people and a smaller and a larger room. So I really like Century because it had the pool. It's also a little isolated and it's a little gated. And it's not isolated, but it's like not connected directly to any other of the USC housings, which is pretty nice. It feels like a little more private. Um, but then I also lived in Party Tower, which is another one of like the typical freshman dorms. It was only for a week, but I can say I got a pretty good experience out of it in terms of like experience wise. I got a taste of community bathrooms, a taste of the just like the bed style that just has 2 beds and like a little mini fridge and microwave. It was really nice. I had everything I needed in there. I don't feel like I was like missing out from when I lived in the village apartments, even though I didn't have a kitchen, because like if I need meals on my freshman year, I'm gonna go to the dining hall. Like when you have a kitchen, it's nice that you can cook your own stuff, but there's really no need unless if you want to cook something like special. But even then, you still have a microwave, so like figure it out. But yeah, no.
That's like the microwave feels like pretty good if you want to make a meal. Like most times it's not cooking; it's just like heating up a Trader Joe's meal. Like if we're being honest.
Exactly. Like who even has the time for that, right? No, I'm kidding. I do catch myself heating up like sweet potato gnocchi with brown butter sage sauce, like in the
Ooh.
microwave. And I'm like, oh, I'm so grateful I have a
You
kitchen.
chefing it up in here.
Cook. Yeah. Well, it's from Trader Joe's. It's in the sealed bag, frozen. But yeah.
I know you mentioned the communal bathrooms, and I know that that's something that some students might be a little bit worried about. So I know Cameron and Mateo, since you experienced that freshman year, what would you say that was like?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, not gonna lie, I really didn't have much of an issue with it. Like, the only thing was like I just had to make sure like I have a lot of hair. So like even though you're not visually seeing me, if you were to see me or go to theturbyvoices.com and read the blog and you see a picture of my head, shameless plug. I do have quite a bit of hair. And so when I would wash my hair, the only thing was just to be cognizant of the fact like I wouldn't like leave a lot of hair in the drain since like that is something that happens. But like beyond that, I never was like, oh my goodness, like because everyone thinks like the worst case scenario of like it's so dirty, it's horrible. And like I lived there for like a solid like month and a half and like nothing ever happened. And like college is really only like 3 months, so like I don't think it would have gotten any worse as time goes. Because like they're being cleaned frequently, so I don't have that much of an issue. Mateo, did you have a bad time?
No, I didn't. I only lived in it for a week and it wasn't at full capacity, so I can't really give like the exact experience because like during the normal year, it's filled up. Uh, all the rooms are occupied usually with like at least two people in each one. So the communal bathrooms are I imagine they're like pretty occupied. But when I was there in the summer, like I could wake up early and there'd be nobody in the showers. Also, like I know they get clean like I think every day or every other day. They don't get cleaned on the weekends though. But I'm sure like people can manage that
Uh-oh.
just for a weekend. Like there's not like
It's
a
like
wrapper on the
Tuesday.
floor. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely all manageable, part of the college experience for sure.
I will say you should probably invest in some shower shoes and a caddy. That's what
Oh
I
yeah.
will say.
100%. That was the one thing that I did not do the first week, and I was like, "Oop, yeah." It was Amazon was like waiting to come to the village. I was like, "Please, please!" I bought Prime that week and everything.
That's so true. And one time I like dropped my shampoo bottle and it's like cylindrical. So it rolled under to the next stall and somebody was there. And so I was like, oh goodness, what do I do? He just rolled it back. He just chucked it right back under the stall. So
That's the Trojan family working.
that's the community
Say
part of the
it
community
again. That
bathroom.
community just help you. Just help a fellow Trojan in need. Am I right?
Absolutely.
And just talking about our different housing options, I know the housing process can be stressful for a lot of people as well. So just what was that process like getting your freshman year housing, your sophomore year housing?
I know from experience that, you get your email from USC Housing and you kind of go through a portal and you kind of go through your selection process through there. And so usually the questions that they ask you there are more like personality type questions, lifestyle questions, so that they can better match you up with someone, roommate and suite mates that are the most compatible with you. And that's also in this portal, that's the stage where if you want to go into special interest housing, which I'm sure that a couple you might have been in or may have some experience with, that you can also choose those options. But mainly that process is entirely a little bit fun because you kind of start to kind of wonder, oh my gosh, who am I going to be paired with? Who's going to be my roommates? And usually the questions are very kind of fun in nature. And so also the portal kind of gives you the ability to kind of, once you're paired up with your roommates, you're able to communicate with them, get their contact information before you even arrive to campus. So you kind of already know and have the group chat little going to see like, oh, who's bringing what. And so that really kind of starts to build the camaraderie even before you meet or come to campus and start your move-in day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's pretty similar for freshman housing because I remember like in my sophomore year, we were essentially given like a registration time and you can pick your roommates ahead of time. And during that registration time, you pick the housing that you're going to live in. Like literally like choose it, select it yourself. In freshman year, it's more like a lottery system. Maybe it's not exactly called a lottery, but you can put your preferences and it will try and match you up. But I actually did not get anything on my list of 5 preferences. And it's actually kind of controversial because I ended up like getting the village in my freshman year, which like if you're not in McCarthy, which is the honors, like it's really sought after. There's not many spaces, just a floor and a half of freshman housing in Kale and Irani, and I got it. And I didn't even want it. Like it wasn't even on my list of preferences. And so I was like, what? Like I had to go like wiping off my eyes, like, is this real? Like, did I really just get Kale and Irani in my freshman year? I wanted Parkside because I heard it was like close to the engineering campus.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I wanted Parkside. And if not, I wanted Berkrant. And then I didn't get those. So I was really happy, stoked, because I picked it because I'm like, oh, well, I finished the housing application the last day it was due. So I didn't think I was going to have a chance, thinking that it was like based on that, like what time you turned it in. But if you wanted to know if it's based on what time you turn in, clearly it's not. So, and your preference might not even get matched up to your preference, but put them anyway, because I know people that got like that asked for, say, New North, and then they got New North. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it really just depends. like what you put down. I would just say put your first choice. Like I got a chance to actually register for sophomore housing in addition to freshman housing. Like since I registered, like the application comes around like January or February, I think, and that was like right before COVID hit in March of 2020. So I was able to register for it. But the nice thing is, like Mateo said, you can pick your roommates. And like the sneaky thing is that yes, there's a lottery time to get it, but there's plenty of ways to subvert it. Like if you have, like, for example, I was gonna live in a 6 person, so it's really just like 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and everything. Not that bad of a place. I live with the same amount of people now, except for I have a private room. And if you all are roommates together, as long as someone gets there first and there's an empty room, they bring all of you guys with you, right? So you basically have like 6 chances to get early time instead of just one. That's like a very nitty gritty detail, but like that was just really cool. Didn't end up living with those guys in the first place, but it was just, I still was able to end up. I requested to be in the village, and even though I didn't with those guys, I still ended up living in the village. But I know people who again like put their first choice, and like you pretty much always get your first choice. They're never gonna like put you in like a like a worse dorm, but there's not even really bad dorms. I'd say like I don't know. I've been to like pretty much all of them, and yeah, it's pretty fun. But yeah, the registration process isn't that bad. The one thing I will say is like when you're ranking your preferences, just be honest about who you are. People are like, oh, I want a very quiet roommate who's super clean. And then it's like you get that and they're like mad at you. And it's like, well, yeah, because I'm like, if you want to stay up watching YouTube videos at 2 a.m. and you didn't clean your room today, that might be the situation. So be honest in your preferences, or else an RA might have to deal with your situation later.
I can echo that. I can definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I would say the housing process, it was stressful in the moment thinking about let's say I don't get the housing choice that I wanted, but I did. So I would say that USC really tries to work with your list of what kind of housing you want. But I know I heard a lot of you talking about roommates, so that's also something that prospective students are thinking about, just who they're going to live with their freshman year. I know it can be scary. For me, I didn't really have to worry about it because my twin sister also goes to USC, so we just ended up rooming together, which was kind of a no-brainer for us. But I know you guys probably had random roommates, so what was that experience like?
Yeah, I had random roommates going into my freshman year, and I was a little scared. I was like, what are these people going to think of me? Like, should I put on a front, try and get them to like me first and then open up? Well, first I want to like mention, you could have chosen your roommates. Say like right when you got into USC, you reached out to people and you found some friends and you think like, oh, I really want to live with them. And you guys communicate, it's a deal, and then you sign up. You can totally do that. You like create a roommate group, I think, in the housing site, and then during registration, I think they'll put you guys together. But I didn't do that. I was alone and I had no idea who my roommates were. Like Jaya said, or somebody said, there's like a list of like things about you and you should be really honest. I think it was Cameron now that I think about it. So I just put that in, hoping for the best, that I would get somebody clean just like me, somebody who goes to sleep at around 1 or 2 or 12 or 1 a.m., stuff like that. And that's exactly what I got. So they did a really good job at that. And yeah, I ended up living with these 2 out of the 3 of my roommates this year. So I got one random roommate my second year, and he's just as cool. So I'm happy.
Nice. Yeah, I know a lot of people there's like Instagram accounts that pop up like USC class of 2024, 2025, and like you can go through and like scope people out and just see if like you have any potential people that you want to room with, and then people make group chats and then you can list them as preferences. But if you don't have that, you can list them. You could just have random roommates. Yeah.
Yeah, and even like when I was applying for housing, you can like put a description of yourself, right? So like I don't quite remember how you're able to browse, but like you can put scripts like, "Hi, my name is Cameron. I'm studying this from so and so." You can like list your interests. And then what people did was like, "Oh, if you really think it would be a cool roommate, here's my Instagram. Message me." So I literally would get like, you can message through the portal if you don't want to put your Instagram, but you can also like send your Instagram. So I got like a DM from my roommate. He's an applied math, and he's like, "Hey, I saw you. I think we'd be pretty cool together. Our interests match up. Live with him. Best room I ever had. No problem. Super cool guy. Like I met his parents and everything one time. His like sister was also an engineering student. Like it was great. But you can like list your profile in there, and that would be, it works well and it's super cool.
All right. And then just moving into another point, what was that transition like for you guys, moving from like high school, living at home, you have your parents driving you around. Then all of a sudden you're in your college dorm and you look around, you have to do your own laundry, you have to buy your groceries, you have to find a way to feed yourself. What was that like? Because I know for me at first, it was definitely overwhelming, but it's also a very exciting time for new students because having that newfound like sense of freedom.
I can go first. I'll be completely honest. I have like a really funny story with laundry. So I've done laundry, but you have to also look at the tags of different things. So the USC, at least the villages, have an automatic kind of like app where you can go ahead and sign in, add funds, and pay for your wash and then your dry. And so I kind of called my dad up to make sure that I didn't mess up any clothes. Like I didn't want any of my whites to come out pink because I put my reds in. And I was like, what settings go to which one? That adjustment, it gets pretty quick. And there's also like some things that you learn on the job, kind of like the laundry thing. But mainly like my thing was more about time management and kind of getting yourself into a routine. And the initial first month, it's obviously a little bit difficult to kind of get into a new routine. You don't have your parents just right next door. It's more or less you're on your own, and you kind of do like what you want in terms of freedom. So kind of like thinking about like what you want to do per day, what are some goals you want to accomplish per day, really kind of helps you to kind of get that adjustment period a little bit quicker if you're not finding your footing. But from an RA standpoint, I've seen my residents really quickly get their footing. So don't be worried if you're afraid of, oh, I don't know if I'll be able to get my routine down. Sooner or later you will in your first year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from the Bay Area, which is around like 5.5, 6 hour drive up north, specifically like close to Stanford University. And so I was able to drive down in our family car with like everything I was bringing in to quote unquote like furnish the apartment, like all my clothes, some materials to clean, plates. Not that you need that much, but I had it because I was living in an apartment. And so like I thought of a lot of things that I would need from home to bring to USC. I think like a good way to think about it is like, in general, everything that I do at home, I'm gonna have to bring or find a way to do at my new place of residence. So yeah, like I said, that could mean like things that you brought or like the things you do. So like laundry, like Jaya said, laundry was interesting for me because like, I don't know. I kind of just dump everything in the washer and then dump everything in the dryer.
I do that too.
I don't know anything about this whites and darks, and I was like, huh? Because my friends were like commenting on that and like, but you can't put that in the dryer, it'll get tighter. And I'm like, oh, is that why it gets tighter, or is it something else? Like, so that was my experience with the laundry. Oh, I guess another thing is I do have a habit of sometimes like leaving my clothes in the dryer, sometimes even like overnight because I don't know. I think that's the hardest part for me, walking all the way back to the laundry room, folding my laundry and bringing it back. Like,
you're that person.
Yeah,
I
I was about
know.
to say.
I'm the person that like somebody has to text the group me and say, "Oh, all the dryers are full. I wonder why." Like, no, I'm kidding. It's only happened like a couple times, but still, no. Sometimes I just leave it overnight. I use one dryer. Okay, there's like 5 or 6 in each room. Okay, so find another one. It's not that hard. I'm kidding. But there is that thing where like somebody dumps their clothes on the floor. That happened to me one time. And that made me mad. So I learned my lesson. I haven't done it in a while actually, but that is what I do. And I think like in general, a good thing to do is find a routine or at least just like learn how to do things and then do them when you have to. Like I don't have a set day to do laundry. I kind of do it when I run out of clothes. And I know that because I pick my clothes out the day before. So if I have barely any clothes left, I'm like, yep, time to do laundry tomorrow. And in terms of like getting everything to your apartment, I feel like a lot of people stress about a packing list before coming to USC. Like, do I have everything I need? In the freshman, typical, like we're saying, like residential dorms, which are just like beds, a microwave, and a fridge, you really don't need much. You just need your clothes and your things to study with, anything else to keep you comfortable, anything that you have in your room at home, right? In apartments, like the village where they have a bathroom and a kitchen, maybe you just want some kitchen stuff. and some bathroom stuff. Want to keep it stocked. But really, don't stress too much about having everything right at the beginning, because I promise you, you don't need to buy a paper towel holder to have on the first day at USC. Like, I remember going with my mom, like trying to get all the deals at Bed Bath and Beyond for all the things
Oh
I
my God, Bed Bath and Beyond.
that brings up another point where like you need to communicate with your roommates to see like who's gonna bring what. Like you don't want to have like 4 brooms and 4 Brita filters because only one fits in the fridge. So
Mhm.
it's good to communicate with your roommates and then plan
Yeah.
before you go.
Yeah, definitely. I was that freshman or sophomore, because my freshman year was online, who had that giant list of everything that I needed. So I had everything separated by like bedroom, kitchen, bathroom, living room, and then I had like miscellaneous items. Honestly, that style worked for me just because I'm the person who's like, if I don't have everything, I'd get really stressed. But you always end up forgetting something. But there's a Target in the village. You can just go run and get it real quick. But if you want my list, email me, CelineVA@usc.edu. The list is extensive and it worked really well.
I
But
see
I
that
will
plug.
yeah, that's a plug. But just having just a little list to get you ready is good. And then in terms of just getting used to living college dorm life, I would say just take it slow in the beginning, and just like take it all in. Like it's really exciting. USC has a lot of events for freshmen moving in. I know we had like a silent disco event. There's like carnivals, there's concerts, just a lot of things going on. So just enjoy it and take your time getting adjusted to college life.
That was like the night USC, right? SC, right?
Yeah, light up the night.
Yeah.
It was a really
Yeah.
fun time.
It's super cool. I feel like moving into college is like a whole experience. Like it's
Mhm.
not just about like, oh, like I'm living here, but it's like, no, like welcome, like congrats, you're here. Like it's super cool. Like let's meet like all these super cool people and like do extremely fun things. Like I don't know, I feel it just felt like a whole experience, like a whole parade just got let out for all of us to be like, we're so happy you're here. It was really fun.
Yeah, definitely. And then just moving into, I know, Jaya, you host dorm events. I know there's a lot of different events for students to get to know each other. So just what are some favorite dorm events that you've attended, if you did attend any when you were living in USC housing, or Jaya, any favorites that you've hosted for students? What's that looking like?
So every single kind of dormitory, both from an RA perspective and also just a former resident perspective, there's usually a event called Courtyard Connections. And so after you kind of have your move-in date, you get settled in terms of just your room, you're able to kind of meet everyone from all different floors. You get to get introduced to your RAs, introduced to your faculty and residents. And that's kind of another part of USC housing. There are certain faculty that live with the students. They also host events for McCarthy residents. People will know Tuesday's Tea is a staple at McCarthy. And so usually the faculty will bring in a couple of speakers. I know from before we brought in the owner of Dulce, um, people who worked at Netflix, and we always host boba. If you guys like boba, lots of residents come out. They enjoy the talks. They get to ask questions, and it's really kind of just developing that network that you get the dormitories. And so there's tons of events. I think that probably my favorites were the Courtyard Connections. They had a really good vibe just for the activities that they were doing. I know that we did like a lot of like mason jar succulent making. And so residents really got to experience and form into their little groups and be able to meet new people. And so, that kind of really set the tone and, the year for, other residential halls and just McCarthy as well. That's probably my most favorite. McCarthy residents will probably get, a little bit of a jump ahead because they go on a retreat. It's like a little 1 day getaway to an unknown spot. It changes every year, but it's usually like a little bonding activity. They have multiple different events and things like that. So, but other residential halls will not miss out on the events. RAs like myself have tons of things lined up for residents to participate in and also meet and expand their community in Res Ed.
Yeah, I mean, I love my dorm events. Thank you to all the RAs out there, including Jaya, for hosting them because
Thank you.
I have found some of my like favorite people there. People I still talk to this day, even though we don't live next door to each other in my freshman year. And even now, like I love my next door neighbors. They're really nice, fun, awesome. And so some of my favorite events, like Jaya said, are the courtyard connections. I still have my succulent from when I did them. And but my favorite thing, something I haven't even experienced yet, is my alternative spring break. So I saw in my email the opportunity to apply to go to an all expenses paid trip to Mexico during spring break with people that lived in the same buildings as me. So that includes like McMorrow, and it's not directly connected, but it's also Nemirovsky and Bonnet. And so I'm going to Yucatan, Mexico, and there's also a trip going to Bolivia, and there's also a trip going to Greece. McCarthy's going to Greece. Like
McCarthy
that's
is going to
super
Greece.
cool.
Wow.
I I'm not gonna say I'm jealous because honestly, I'd rather go to Mexico than Greece. But the opportunity to go to Greece, that's insane. So
That's
I'm super
crazy.
excited for spring break coming up. I'm also on this thing called Bonnet Board, which is super cool. It's essentially like a funding board. Um, we got $20,000 from David Bonnet, who is the one of USC's donors, and the building Nemirovsky and Bonnet is actually named after him. And so we get this $20,000 check to distribute to local LA nonprofits. And so we've been meeting as a board to try and figure out where this money should go. We've reached out to nonprofits, gotten to hear their say and why they need this money. And currently, we're in the process of trying to plan visits. So, just like something completely irrelevant from housing, I got this amazing opportunity to go to Mexico this spring break and to join a funding board that has given me an opportunity to give back to LA because, like, that was really important to me. I'm not from LA, so I almost feel like I'm like invading the space. I mean, not really, but it's nice to give back, find a way to give back and get involved in the community. And so I'm really excited to work with these orgs more, and I'm grateful for the opportunity from USC Housing.
Yeah, definitely. That's crazy that you guys are going to Mexico and Greece and all those places. I know last year, since it was still that transition from COVID, they had like those trips on a smaller scale. So Jay and I went to Catalina Island, which was really fun, but that was also free, just sponsored by Nebraska and Bonnet, and USC Housing, which was really fun. We just went for the day. We did we no, we didn't snorkel, we kayaked, which was really
And the Wrigley
cool.
Institute.
Yeah, the Wrigley Institute, which is USC's campus on Catalina Island, which was really fun. So just different things like that. And like Mateo was talking about, they just have different boards for each residential hall. So you could just get involved with like that student council vibe is what you're looking for. You can do that also in USC housing. Okay, so I know we've been talking a lot about underclassmen housing, but I know there's probably some upperclassmen out there listening, or maybe just prospective students wondering what housing looks like for upperclassmen. So I know, Jaya, you're an RA, which is an opportunity that upperclassmen have to get USC housing. So if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm residence assistant, again, just for a reminder, at McCarthy's Honors. And so I think I've seen kind of like the two paths you can kind of go down in terms of housing when you become an upperclassman. One is where Celine is kind of going, where it's you go off campus, and the other is you apply to become a residence assistant and you get to have privileges on living back on campus. But the thing is that it's a position, it's a job, sponsored by residential education, and so that comes with responsibilities and tasks that you have to do on kind of like a weekly, monthly basis. And so mainly my job kind of coincides with checking in with residents, really setting up, like we talked about, those events that freshmen and sophomores get to engage in. RAs and the RCCs and GRCCs are the people behind those things and are behind kind of formulating the budgets and, working out the kinks of each event and, the ones hosting them. And so that position, if you're thinking about just getting free housing and kind of be an RA just to get housing. I would say to also consider all the different other factors that it comes with becoming a residence assistant. You have to be on call. That's including doing a lot of training with emergency response. And so really RAs are here to kind of both guide students in their journey through residential education, guide and mitigate between roommate disagreements, because you will have some. It is a rite of passage at college. And they're also here to kind of just facilitate and make sure that the dorm is running. If there's any incidents, that they're followed up and reported, and they kind of just make everything run smoothly. And so I've really found a lot of fulfillment in, me missing out that freshman year experience. I really wanted to kind of give back to residential ed and kind of like the community of students and making their freshman year the best as possible, because it's been really fun and really engaging to kind of learn on an individual basis each individual resident's kind of quirks and interests. And so when you do get to campus and when you do meet your RA, don't be afraid to kind of go and have a conversation. We have these little events called Trojan Talks. It's like quick 30-minute talks that RAs will encourage you to have, that gets to your interests, different resources that you may want to find on campus, and just general advice about where you want to go in your major. If you kind of want to go down certain paths, the residence assistant is kind of there to kind of help facilitate that. So my major advice to upperclassmen who are interested, or for freshmen that are coming in and getting used to an RA, be open to all the events and getting to know them. They want to get to know you, and they want to make your experience good and enjoyable. So that's kind of my experience so far.
Yeah, I would say being an RA is a really good option for upperclassmen, just because, like you said, you do have that free housing, which is really nice. I did not go the RA route. I decided to live off campus after my sophomore year. I live at University Gateway. It's a giant apartment complex right across the street from campus. It's like right next to the village. It's a popular option from sophomores getting used to living off campus. I would say I enjoy it. It's the same setup as living in the village, but it's just not USC owned housing. There are a lot of options for upperclassmen looking to live off campus. There's a lot of different apartments besides Gateway. I know there's Tuscany, which is near, it's on the opposite side of campus, not north side. Different options like that. And next year, for senior year, I'm going to be living in a house. USC has a lot of different houses around campus, in the community around us. And there's just a lot of leasing companies who decided to rent those out and lease to students. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be living with 6 of my friends next year in a house. So it's just a lot of different options depending on your living style, what you're looking for in terms of housing. If you're looking for like the single, if you're looking for a double, looking for apartment housing, just depending on what you want to do. And Mateo, do you have any future plans for what you want to do as an upperclassman?
Yeah, so I actually applied to be an RA.
Woo!
So I will
RA.
find out tomorrow. So you'll find out tomorrow or not.
You find out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, so this episode gets released on Sunday. So by Sunday, you'll know.
Yeah. Sunday the 19th. Yeah. Okay. But if that doesn't work out, I'm not too worried, even though I literally don't have plans if that doesn't work out. I don't think my roommates do either. And I think we'd be really cool living together again. And, I'm not that worried about not having housing. I wasn't really looking for a house. We kind of knew we wanted to live in a complex, like Celine was saying. There's this thing called the Lorenzo, which a lot of students live at. It's a decent distance away from USC, I think like a mile or less than that. But there's shuttles that go straight to USC every 20 minutes before midnight, I think. So it doesn't seem like that bad of an idea, and we can split the cost of room. It's super chill, it seems like. And I see some complexes that still have like early bird rates. So I definitely don't feel like I'm like behind or anything. But hopefully I do get the RA position because, like Jaya said, like I've always kind of wanted to give back to USC housing. They've given me so much. Like I'm literally going to Mexico without having to pay anything. Like that's insane. And I'm really grateful for that opportunity. And so, yeah. And I think I want to, guide people in their life. I'm a mentor for a program outside of USC, and it's just something like that was really important to me. And so being an RA is kind of like that, but, in like a residential setting.
Mhm.
It's like, it's really interesting to think about. I don't have any experience in it, so maybe my opinion of this will change. But I don't know, it seems nice that I'll be able to help people when they start their careers. Like, I want to be the type of person that will give them advice when they need it. Maybe like if I see something, I might want to say something, but really I want to let them flourish and have that opportunity to flourish. And being an RA sounds kind of nice.
Yeah, definitely. And I will say one point about off-campus housing is people are a little bit concerned about like how long it will take to get to campus, but honestly, it's not bad. I might be a little biased just because I have a scooter, so I'm able to get to campus in like a minute. But I will
Yeah.
say, before I had my scooter, all of last semester, I would walk to campus and it was like a 5-minute walk. It just really depends where you live. But
And
honestly, all
when
the off-campus housing options are less than a 15-minute walk to campus.
and usually when you start to get closer to campus, you'll start to see a lot of the USC ambassadors,
Mhm.
and you have like those blue light phone towers for emergencies. So you're never without an outlet if there is a situation.
Yeah.
And the last tidbit I'll say about RA is that I definitely recommend what Mateo's doing is to first enjoy your 2 years. They are guaranteed housing for freshmen and sophomores. Those are really kind of like your formative USC years that are going to help shape the rest of your time there. It's really to build connections, to go and outreach, because like Mateo's seen, RA selection is a selective process. And not everyone's going to become a resident assistant. That's okay. But you really want to make sure that you want to form those connections in those resident spaces, so that if you end up living off campus, like Celine's doing, you get to have really 6 cool, really good friends that you're going to enjoy living with. So that's Jaya's advice to incoming students.
Yeah, definitely. Just to go off of that, just enjoy your time when you're at USC those first 2 years. Those are really going to be some of the best moments of your college experience, just because everything's so brand new, everything's really exciting. And during those first few years, everyone's really open to meeting new people and making new friends, which is really fun. And just housing is a big part of that. Just getting to know everybody in your building, getting to go around, go to dining halls with your friends, just things like that. Really exciting time for all the people who were just recently admitted and the people who are just waiting for their decisions.
Yeah, and if you're worried about the distance, I'm late to class regardless. I live in the village and I'm late to class sometimes. So just manage your time better than me, please. Do yourself a favor. And like Jaya said, I would definitely live in USC housing another year if I could. And you have the guarantee as a sophomore. I suggest you take it. I mean, unless if you don't like the options that are left, because what happens is that the spaces fill up. You want an early registration time. And I got really lucky with my roommates where he got it on the first day and like the third hour. And actually, our first choice wasn't available, but our second choice was. So, I mean, when it comes to that time, have a list, but definitely enjoy your time in USC housing. It's meant to be enjoyable. Your RAs are trained to help you on your journey, as well as like provide events and stuff like that to just make it more enjoyable. And living with people of your age is just genuinely such an amazing experience. Like if you've ever had a friend that lived like really far away from your house to the point where it's like inconvenient to like live, or sorry, inconvenient to hang out with them, like that's not a problem anymore unless if you have friends that are commuting. Like it's really fun. And so just enjoy it. Like my best friends, 2 best friends today, literally live next door to me. And it makes me so happy that I get to see them like often. So I'm grateful.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up the podcast episode. Thank you guys so much for being here today. It is currently 9:58 p.m. on a Thursday, so I really appreciate you guys being here, but we will see you all for the next episode.
And welcome back, guys. Celine, this was actually a super fun conversation to have. I feel like I was walking down memory lane a little bit, just going through and remembering like housing, like freshman and sophomore year, and like not knowing where to live and just the fun times. So definitely glad this was super cool to just talk about it and get some of those, misconceptions out of the way and just talk about our experience.
Yeah, definitely. It's really exciting just getting to talk about housing again, just remembering living on campus and now being an upperclassman living off campus and getting to share that with students.
Do you guys remember move-in day?
I
Like
do.
the day you first moved in? Do you remember what you were thinking and how that day went? What was scary about it? What was the most exciting part about it?
It was scary leaving my parents, but I think it was just exciting seeing all of the new faces and all of the events that USC was having. And just, it was like a new start to a new chapter of my life, which was a really exciting time for me.
Yeah, like I wasn't necessarily scared per se. Like we kind of talked about, like, look, this is, what you got to do when you go to college, especially far away. But it just set into like, this is real. Like you
Yeah.
are now in college, you are on
Yeah.
your own. And it was just like a little, it wasn't scary, but it was just like, wow, like you're here.
Do you remember making any like really dumb decisions on that day? Like just things that you were like you, if you remember back being embarrassed by? I'll start because I have a very specific story here, but I want to give you time to think about this. I remember moving into college, and I remember, parents being super involved and being very excited, and I was being very apprehensive because you got that vibe of like starting to set up your own life, but it's also like meeting new people and trying to be cool, which is kind of a weird vibe to have with parents. But I remember I was living in like a suite style in a building that no longer exists, and it had a kitchenette. And I remember bringing like, I don't know, 2 plates, 2 bowls, like 2 set, whatever, like just having this thing that you picked up at Target at the time. And I remember my mom taking it and putting it out to the shared public space kitchenette area. And I remember being like so mad at her. I'm like, Mom, I don't know these people. I don't know what they're going to do with that. Leave it in here. Leave it in my room. And she's like, what are you talking about? It goes in the I'm like, no, don't do that. And I remember being so upset and so like worried about what something might happen to this like plastic plate that I had. And I was just thinking back going like, God, there's so much stuff I worried about in that one moment that I didn't need to worry about whatsoever.
Yeah, I would agree. I was definitely looking at like my list of things that I had to bring to move in. And then if I forgot something, I would be really stressed. I'm like, okay, we have to run to Target. We have to run to like Smart and Final something.
Yeah.
So just like a lot of stress in the moment. But I didn't really need to be that stressed at the time. So just I definitely remember like feeling like I needed to be so prepared when really everything turned out fine.
Yes, I feel like I don't even know if I was the opposite, but like I was just like really trying to like focus on like not being super stressed. And like some of like the dorms like in McCarthy, for example, like it feels like almost a European flat the way like the closet is kind of like exposed. And I was like, oh, that looks really cool. And like I remember my mom, she was like, you need to have a curtain over this so people don't look at your stuff. And I'm like, Mom, it's not that big of an issue. And she was like, you need to do this, and you need to go here, just go to Target and get a curtain or a cover or something. And I was like, what is the problem? Like I was just like so, and I was like, please, I'm like, don't make a scene. Like it was just hilarious because I'm like, oh my goodness, what are people gonna think of me? So that was just the only time where I was just like, man, like, just no.
Wow. Yeah, it's so funny. Everybody worries about a number of different things, and it's kind of similar to like packing for a long trip. Like some people get pretty laid back and casual about it, like, oh, we'll figure it out when we get there. And some people are like, I need to plan for every possible scenario that's out there. Celine, are you like that when you
I'm
pack?
definitely that kind of person.
Yeah. I'm assuming, Cameron, you're the opposite. You're like, oh, we'll figure it out when we get there.
Yeah, like I went to Europe for like 10 days and I packed like 2 days beforehand and like it was fine. I just bought a coat when I got there and it was chill. So I don't
this
know.
might be an interesting little thing here. If you identify, like when you were getting ready to pack for a trip, if you stress out about that, you're gonna have lots of stress getting ready to go to college. And so how do we learn from managing that? And if you're like Cameron, you'll probably be fine. But let's learn from these things. Cameron, what if you were to do something different about moving in or whatever else you were doing? What would you do differently now that you're a few years in?
I think like the main thing is probably like thinking through like a lot of your everyday activities. Because like I'm had a like time like moving into USC for a summer program and I stayed at Burncrant Residential College, which I talked about in the pod. And we mentioned that I didn't have like shower shoes or a caddy or anything. So I was like, oh, it'd be fine to think through these things. And like that really messed me up. I was like holding all my stuff in my arms. Like I would be like cradling everything, like hoping, and I had to like use like my slides that I had for the room in the shower. It was a whole mess. So I guess like in general, like thinking through things, like that's how I pack in general. I think like, okay, when I wake up, I need to shower, wash my face, brush my teeth, I go through all of that things, and that helps me pack really easily.
Yeah.
So I would just say like to try to, I wish I would have thought more thoroughly about like my morning routine, all of my normal activities. Cause I feel like if you think through that, that'll probably help you just pack through everything. Cause you're like, no, like, oh, well, I need to do this. So I need to bring that. And that's something that just kind of slipped over my mind casually.
Got it. And Celine, now that you're a few years in, how would you tell yourself to calm down? What would you tell your old self not to worry about?
Yeah, I think just like forgetting the little things at home, definitely with like there's a Target in the village, you can go buy it later, things like that. Also just like taking it all in because move-in day is fast. I know you're trying to like take everything in, you're trying to meet new people, you're saying goodbye to your parents, you're moving all your stuff in, trying to figure everything out. But I would say just to take it slower and just take it all in because that day is a really special day.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this really cool conversation regarding housing. I'm confident all of our students out there that are listening will find this helpful, and hopefully parents will find it helpful as well. A quick update on where we are in this admission process. We're in the thick of it, right? So it's the middle of February right now. We've got we got first year applications that the university and our office is in the middle of reviewing. We're still going through that. If you have not heard a decision on admission, you will hear back from the university at the end of March. And so don't expect to hear anything from us until that last week of March. So sit tight, kind of forget about it. Do what you need to do to get your mind off of it. We'll get to that point. If you are admitted, you will be invited to a number of different admitted student programs. I want to put this out here now, which is we're getting a lot of students that are starting to set up visits around that time period, and they don't know whether they're admitted or not. And I do not think that's a good idea because if you aren't admitted, you're not going to want to come, pretty sure. If you are admitted, you don't want to come to that event. You're setting up visits that are set up for students that are thinking about applying. So right now we're working with a lot of events with high school juniors that are visiting right now. We've got actually starting today into next week, we've got over 600 people registered to visit just with the Viterbi School of Engineering in our events over the next 5 business days. So we have a lot of stuff going on, but most of them are high school juniors. If you're a high school senior in the admission process, wait till you're admitted because we have specific programs for admitted students that are very different than the info sessions that we have set up now. And I think you're going to get a lot more out of that. Transfer students, we've just wrapped up and got all of our transfer applications all submitted. We're processing those right now. If you've applied as a transfer student, sometimes we get a lot. I'm going through our email inbox right now. We're getting a lot of students asking questions. Did you get this? Did you get that? No, because it hasn't processed yet. So let it process, let it sit for up to 2 weeks. We'll get to it. If we need anything from you, we will reach out to you. So if you know that you submitted it or you know you had another school send a transcript or anything else, let it process, let it sit. If we need anything from you, we will be in touch with you. And the best place that you can update any information is through your applicant portal. And so if you want to add any other information or more stuff we're missing, you do that via your applicant portal. So that is the best advice for you. For transfer applicants, you won't be hearing back from us for quite some time. Because we need to finish up our first year application review process, then get into transfer application review process, and transfer students will receive either an admission decision or a request for spring grades by the end of May. And so we've got lots of time. And I know that you're thinking that you can just apply and get a decision really quickly. Unfortunately, it's not like a credit check. It's not a calculation that's run that we can automatically do something yay or nay. Let us do the process. Let us run through that process and understand your application in context to the rest of our applicant pool, because that's what we're doing. That's it. That's what we're doing. Lots of stuff happening. If you ever need anything, always feel free to check our website for more information. Our blog has lots of updates, viterbiadmission.usc.edu, specifically related to transfer students right now. And if you're a junior or younger looking to visit, our website has lots of different opportunities and info sessions running for you. A lot of in-person events and a few virtual events as well. If you don't see anything that works for you, if you're a junior or younger, just check back in the next couple of weeks. We're always adding more dates. So check that out, and we look forward to hosting you sometime soon. Once again, Cameron, Celine, thank you so much for being here and putting up this podcast. And thank you out there for listening. We'll be back next week with a whole other new episode of Viterbi Voices. Talk to you soon, everybody. Bye.